Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This video is super overdue, but I purchased for Amazon Prime Day, so that should give you a hint on how overdue this actually is. I bought the Paul Rubens, just their 48 count watercolors. You've probably already seen my video where I swatched the metallics. Well, this was also part of that same shopping trip because they were on sale and I can't say no because I really wanted to get the Paul Rubens. So they come in this adorable pink box that my daughter wants me to keep and her use for, I'm sure, what will become a junk box where she stuffs all sorts of stuff, but whatever. And then they're always wrapped in this awesome cloth, which is perfect to use for your brushes, cleaning everything off. It's actually a watercolor cloth, by the way, in case anyone was curious. But, you know, what's funny is it's so pretty and pink, I don't want to ruin it. So I keep using my ugly old rag that washes really well, but I'm like, I don't want to ruin it. I need to get over that, though, because that's kind of part of the price, or so I tell myself. So yeah, the Paul Rubens, this is the 48 count one, nails. All right, so when you first open it, you have big mixing trays up here, which is awesome. And then inside is their little pamphlet, all in Chinese, I believe it is. I always get it wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Chinese. And yeah, you don't really know what it's saying, but they are telling you about all their colors. And I'm trying to decipher what I would be missing. I'm pretty sure between this palette and the other one, I will have them all, but don't quote me on that. I have to look it up. And then just like my metallic set, this one came with its own like pre-done swatch chart, which I was going to swatch, but unlike my metallics, like my metallics had the names, this one doesn't. So yeah, my metallics had like the A number or D number, and then it had the name of the color. This one does not. So that was kind of odd. So what I did was I just printed off my 48 count watercolor swatch chart, and I added the names and numbers myself. And yeah, we'll just go from there. But I've already unwrapped these. I know on my metallic glitter ones, I had done that after showing you guys, but I figure you know what these things look like by now. So, and also, in case you weren't aware, if I can get it out, if you lift up the trays, they've got like these little metal knobby things. You actually have more mixing trays, so you could pull the whole palette out, set it off to the side, and then just use this entire case as your mixing palette. It's pretty nifty. Now, Paul Rubens, you know, some brands that come in the compressed cake form don't require you to pre-wet them. Paul Rubens do. They need about a good solid squirt of water and 3 minutes max. Otherwise, they start to dry on you. But I usually just take my distress sprayer, which I'll grab, and I just kind of get them all wet. Don't need a ton of water because you're still going to have water on your brush, but this kind of just pre-wets them, makes your life a lot easier. My palette is so clean right now. It's going to be so messy when I start using these. All right, so that's all I do with the distress sprayer, and then I let them chill. And then I swatch, which we're going to do. Okay, so it's been a couple minutes. They're as soft as they're gonna get probably, so I thought we would just dive in. I hope the lighting is okay. Unfortunately, I'm doing a bunch of videos in the afternoon, so the sun is not on the right side of me. So things might look a little weird. But, and hopefully my camera doesn't zoom in and out. That's why I'm going to keep my hand way off to the side so it focuses on the task at hand. But I'm in a very awkward position because I have all my materials off to the right now. So let's swatch the titanium white, which you're not really going to see, but you know it's there. That is a really thick white. All right. And I am just using a, wow, that white is super thick. I have to just stuck to my brush. I'm just using a normal watercolor brush and 2 jars of water, one clean, one dirty. And the reason for that is water brushes are kind of pesky. I need to add more water. And recently ruined a water brush. It was totally my fault. I was being uber lazy and wasn't paying attention, and I was doing black with a water brush, which you really should not do, FYI. And yeah, I sucked up the black into my water brush. It is ruined. It's all up inside like the little pumping mechanism. And yeah, it would take forever to get that to cycle out. Like I did try a good 20 minutes of trying to get it out of there. Finally, I was like, okay. Luckily, it was one of my budget water brushes, but you know, when you do watercolor, you just gotta break out the brush and the jars of water. Let's just be real. These are really pretty colors. Now I'm doing these a little more concentrated. You can, of course, add more water, drag them out. This paper is rather soft. This is a US Art Supplies watercolor paper. I forget the pounds on it. It's a pretty lightweight. It's very bendy, very absorbent. It's a cold press paper though, so it's not too shabby, but I recently grabbed the Arteza one just to try it out. I need more water on those. And it's also cold press, but I think it's like 140 pounds, the Arteza one. And I need to spray these a little more. But yeah, I like that one a lot better. This paper is just too absorbent, like it just soaks it all up. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay. This is the problem when you take the labels off and they're no longer labeled. And by the way, I am not trying to stay in the lines with a freaking watercolor. I'm not that OCD. That's the whole point. Watercolors are messy. My hardest problem is remembering what is what, because these palettes are huge. I might go in with a Sharpie and put like a Sharpie number down there. That way it doesn't wash away. These aren't too bad though. Nickel yellow, just kind of like a brownish, yellowish thing. That. Wish I did this in the morning so my watercolors didn't have to be right at my elbow. I'm trying not to nail them with my elbow as I come back over here to swatch. Wow, that is really orange red. Like I said, these are a little more concentrated. Like I would put these, like I'd actually pull these off, put them on my mixing palette and add some more water. But I like to swatch seeing the concentrated color because this is what I'm gonna water down. Like, so I wanna see what it is ahead of time. Chinese red. But yeah, I mean, if I was using these in a picture, I would not be pulling off the palette unless I wanted a really deep look. I would actually be putting it onto a mixing tray, adding some water to it, making it a lot more movable. So it wasn't just all cakey. All right, Cadmium Red. Ooh, this one is gonna be luscious. That's like a true lipstick red right there. You can't deny that. May have to change out my water. I had swatched another set just before this video and my dirty water is, well, mud. But we'll see. Oh, that is definitely true to its name. Scarlet Red, that's gorgeous. That would be really pretty. Rose red. Now we're getting into the red violets, pinky reds. So they do have a good selection of reds in here, and oranges and yellows, which I always appreciate. Madder Red. I am not buying any more watercolors after this. I've got plenty. This one palette alone is more than enough to mix, as long as there's some grays in there. I think there is. Well, maybe not. Got white. That would be really weird if they didn't have grays. I mean, I can make a gray with black and a white, so... and I do believe there's blacks, yeah. So, we're good. We're good. Like I said, I think I've said this before, you can get away with a palette of very few colors. Oh, I hate the counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay. Because you just mix them, and I plan to do some videos showing you guys all of these palettes I've been swatching. I'm going to show you how to create a mixing chart. You know, mix them together, kind of like you would with your colored pencils, only we're using watercolors. And that way you can see what colors you can make. And I'll probably do one, like this Paul Ruben set would be insane to do, because 48 colors mixed all amongst one another is one big chart. That would take some time. I might do like one of my Jane Davenports, or the vintage pastel set. I have basically like a 12 count set, and show you all the pretty colors you can make, instead of doing a mixing chart with this. Now I will make a mixing chart with this privately, like because I want to see what I can make, and it's a good reference if you're new to watercolors to sit there and build out a mixing chart. That way you know, okay, like on the fly I can pull this color and this color, pull them off to the side, mix them together, and I'm gonna get this. Of course with these 48 colors you won't have to do a lot of mixing, but yeah, so it's really good if you're new to watercolors to create one of those mixing charts, just so you know the range of your palette. These blues are luscious, oh my goodness. Look at that. That one is freaking gorgeous. And the pigment is really nice. I do kind of want to get the Winsor Newton ones and White Nights. Even though I just said I'm not buying any more watercolors. I'm not buying them anytime soon. Those ones are pretty pricey. Like the Paul Rubens are 80 something, but for Prime Day, I got them pretty cheap. Okay, so now we're on sea blue. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, we're on the 4th tray now. Losing track of where I'm at on my palette. That one I had a little extra water in because I sprayed those heavily so they wouldn't dry by the time I got to them. Ooh, Prussian blue. Prussian blue is one you see a lot used, like in watercolor tutorials. People will use this to mix with other colors. It's one I see a lot. Oh, Payne's Gray. We do have a gray sitting in the middle of our blues, but Payne's Gray traditionally is a blue gray like that. Well, that one could arguably be more of an indigo color, but they got indigo next to it, so what will that be? Let's find out. Sorry, swatching these can take a while just because I have to sit here and mix them. That is, okay, well that one's definitely more indigo now. But that one, I feel like should have a little more gray to it. It's more blue than anything. Again, this is the concentrated version. Maybe if I were to water it down, I would see the gray. But usually you can see that. Oh my gosh, the aqua colors. I mean, they're calling it turquoise, but turquoise light and turquoise deep. Which, believe it or not, these are really good to have in a palette separate. Can you make them? Sure, but it's kind of a pain. So, unless you like mixing all day. I just kind of wanted to see what range this came with, because 48 colors is a lot of watercolors. Ooh, my goodness. That is, well, I would call that emerald green, but then they got emerald green next to it, so let's just not listen to what colors I think they are. Everybody sees colors so differently, though. Always cracks me up, like, when people get in a fight over what's this shade of green and, you know, what's a yellow green and what's not, because we all see colors differently and we may not pick up on those same hues. Let's see. There's sometimes I see yellow greens a lot more, but I've had people go, that's not a yellow green, but it is, or it is to me. So you just do what color you think it is. It's art. Who cares? Olive green. I love olive greens because for some reason that is where I'm drawn to when it comes to leaves and botanicals. I go straight for the olivey colors more than anything. I honestly don't know why. It's not my favorite color, but it is for like botanicals. I don't know. Trying to make sure I'm cleaning off my brush, which you just do in a nice little swirl. Of course, if you have some color on, you know, your brush or coming off the water when you're mixing, it's not going to hurt your colors if you get a little bit on the cakes. I know it's like scary, but I promise it'll be just fine. I mean, back in the day when I used to do watercolors, holy lime green, I would just straight like go from one color to the next and grab it, and I had a friend that was like cringing because she's like, ah, you're mixing them together. I'm like, I'm not, I'm just picking it up. Like that one tiny sliver of blue on top of my green is not going to change the entire cake under it. But it just depends on how messy you want to be, I guess, or how neat you want to be. I actually have OCD, so it's probably doesn't sound right when I'm like, no, mix the colors. But this is one of those instances where you want to be messy, and it's almost like freeing to be messy and sloppy and mix things and just go to town. That's what makes watercolor fun, as opposed to colored pencils where you can't always mix what you want to mix. It just doesn't work out always. But with watercolor, you just grab colors, like splash them on a page. Do whatever makes you happy. Mix those colors, who cares? But that's one thing I love about watercolor. Like, there's no stress involved. Maybe that's why it works well with my OCD, because it's a carefree form of art. Like, just no rules. Like, really, there aren't a lot of rules to watercolors, other than, you know, what people claim to be a rule. But to me, it's free game. I always love Dyke Brown because my last name is Van Dyke, so I feel like they're named for me. Although I can't really take credit because it's my husband's name. So they were technically named for him. All right. I'm getting into some browns here. Always lovely. Ooh, that is a nice one. Very traditional colors. This is good. This isn't like a bad thing. I already got the glitters and metallics, which are not traditional whatsoever, and not something I'll do a mixing chart for. Those 48 are just fine on their own. I don't need to go mixing those. Making some glitter mud, unless you really want to see glitter mud. Ivory, yeah, that's good. So I wonder if the coal black is going to be a grayish black or a really deep black. We're about to find out, but they've been kind of going in order, so I'm going to think it would be a really deep one. Yes. And you're probably like, well, I don't see the difference between the two. We'll wait for them to dry. mind me. I'm just cleaning off my brush real quick. Okay. That's one thing you don't want to forget to do. You know, let me see if it'll let me zoom out. Oh, it does, thank goodness. So I'm using the new Pro camera setting on my phone. Yes, I'm still recording on my phone. But it's not always as forgiving as my other one, but it does help with the lighting. So here is what we got. The whole thing won't fit on frame, but it doesn't let me zoom out much further on this setting. So we'll have to kind of scroll as we go. Let me just move the palette. So first things first, we've got some good yellows, which I appreciate. Thank you, thank you. Loads of oranges. Let me move it down. Got their permanent yellow medium. I love that they have a yellow brown. Then we're getting into the orangey reds, and then the reds. We've got a lot of reds. That would be our true red. Well, that one, I don't know. They're still wet. It's hard to say. One of these. You always want, you know, your primary colors, because obviously primary colors make everything. So always need those. But I do like that they have these oranges in here. Yes, I could make all of these oranges, but like I said, at 48 count, you don't need to mix as much. So then we get some red violets. This one's got a little bit, like we're slowly going into purples, but you know what? We don't really have, I mean, this is a really dark purple, and it was pretty concentrated when I picked it up, the permanent violet. Royal purple is where we start our blue violet range, which they only actually give us one blue violet. Then we just, oops, let me pick that up on my finger. Then we move into our blues. So yeah, I mean, our red violet range is okay. This purple here, I'm kind of curious if I watered that down, what it would give me. It's very dark right now. Now, could I lighten it? Yes. I can water it down also, which makes a totally different color. So that, you know, you have to keep in mind. So then we get into our blues. We've got a very good blue here with cobalt blue. The France Ultramarine. I hope that's the name. My writing got a little sketchy. But that's a really nice one too. And then we get into our blue greens, you know. So we've got the peacock and sky blue. Wow, those are still super wet. The sea blue is a really pretty color, and so is this Prussian blue. And that one's actually starting to dry, so you can see it a lot better. That's the problem, is anytime you're swatching watercolors, do not even bother looking at them until they dry. But for the sake of the video and all that, we're looking at them while they're still semi-wet. Payne's Gray, now that it's absorbed into this paper, and dried almost, just got a titch that's not, but you can definitely see it is a blue gray, so that's relieving, because remember when I laid that down, it looked a lot like indigo, but indigo is still wet and drying. But see here at the bottom, you can kind of tell the color it's going to be. Now the turquoise light and turquoise deep are pretty good as we're getting into those, you know, blue greens. I can never say it. Malachite. I mean, one thing with Paul Rubens is, like, most brands have an E at the end of that T, but they don't. So is it malachite now? Or sheet? Malachite? I don't know. Whatever it is, it's green. But that is a really pretty one. I do like this emerald green. I do love these olivey greens that they give us. That one might be a little olivey. And then we've got a true green right up here with this permanent green. And then that one definitely is a yellow green. Then we get into our earth tones. These aren't looking too bad. The browns. Yeah, I mean, overall, it's not bad. See, okay, so the Ivory Black, as it started to dry and absorb, because remember when we first put them down, they looked a lot alike. This is a very deep black, whereas Ivory Black is the gray black. So that's good, because I was kind of worried I wouldn't have a gray black. And I was like, oh no. But in terms of grays, this set does not have any grays. Payne's Gray to me is not a gray. It's a blue. But there's no grays other than we have this Ivory Black, but I guarantee if I were to add more water to that, it would definitely lighten up, and you could always mix it with white as well. That's the beauty of it. When a palette includes a white, they know what they're doing. But yeah, overall, this isn't a bad palette. I do want to sit and make a mixing chart and kind of see where I can go. I mean, right now it's very bold and in your face, but remember, I did concentrated colors coming off the cakes. When I put these in, say, a loose watercolor painting, there's going to be a ton of water, and this is not going to look like this. So this is the ultra concentrated formula of these, and then, you know, you can see how they go from there. But overall, it's a pretty good selection of colors. I don't have any that I would say remove. I mean, they could have, I guess, done away with a couple of these oranges because orange is so easy to make. But, you know, whatever. We do only have the permanent lemon yellow, and then this is almost like a pastel one. But that's not a big deal. But yeah, overall, this isn't too shabby of a palette. We've got our primary colors, like the true primary colors, and that's key for mixing a lot of things. We've got the grays, the blacks, the whites, and then good selection of brown, because brown, believe it or not, makes a lot of colors. So I know you'd be like, how is that possible? But it does. Mix brown with things and you can make a whole new thing. So yeah, guys, let me know if you would be interested in seeing color mixing with watercolors. Like I said, I probably won't do a 48 count tray on camera. That would just be insanity. Because we'd be here literally mixing from 1 to 1 all the way over. It's quite intensive. So I'll probably grab like maybe one of my basic sets of Jane Davenports, and we can do a mixing. So let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see a mixing and how that works. I'm going to make one myself for this. I just don't know if I could sit down on camera and do it, because that would be a few hours of mixing. and I could speed it up, I guess. But we'll see how I feel from there. So thank you so much for hanging out while I swatched these. They've only sat on my desk for over a month, but I've been so busy, I haven't been able to swatch them, and it's killing me because I was like, oh, I finally got these things, and here they sit. But I will leave a link in the description below. If they're not on sale at the time you click on it, keep an eye on them. The Paul Rubens do go on sale. You can also, on their website, they sometimes have a 20% off coupon as well. I just buy everything through Amazon. That way, if there's anything wrong with it, I can return it quicker and easier, because we all know Amazon is awesome for that. Whereas, you know, ordering from other sites, it's kind of hit or miss. But yeah, I will leave a link for that. And the brush I just used a faux fur watercolor brush, which holds a pretty good amount of water, not as much as a real fur one. I do have red squirrel ones, but those are extra juicy, and I don't want that one. I'm trying to get the concentrated color. But thanks, guys, for hanging out with me and listening to my total ramble at the end of this video, which I will not edit out because I don't have time. But I hope you enjoyed this. If you have the Paul Rubens 48 count, let me know what you think of them. If you've mixed them, if they worked pretty well for you, if you have any gripes with your trays, how long they've lasted, all that stuff, because I have no clue. I just bought them, so I have no idea how long these things will last me. Hopefully they re-wet 2 years from now, but definitely let me know in the comments below, and until next time, take care.